just returned from my morning walk, and I had a really great insight this morning that I want to share with you about the knowing. As many of you know, I've been doing these, 3 walks a day in service to connecting with this deep knowing and strengthening my relationship with it and really understanding how it speaks to me. And this morning, as I was walking, I realized that there's been a consistent pattern. And that pattern is that in the beginning, there's nothing. In the beginning, I walk out and I'm waiting for my inner knowing to speak to me. I can't wait to find out what I'm going to hear today. And then in the beginning of my walks, every single morning, there is nothing. And this morning, as I was walking and experiencing nothing, I've experienced it so many times that I know that this is how it goes, that in the beginning, there is nothing. And then I remember that Bible verse, in the beginning, there was nothing. And then there was the Word, and the Word was God, and God is good. I think that's how it goes. I remembered that, and then a flooding of knowing washed over me. Wow, yeah, that really is how it is. And I realized in that moment that what it takes to lead from this place of deeper knowing is to be willing to sit in the nothing. Many spiritual teachers and advisors talk about it as this fertile void, that after you complete something, it's really great to be in the fertile void. Let it, so that you can let an authentic desire be born. More often than not, what we do is, what I've done in the past in my leadership is be unwilling to sit in the nothing, that I always need to have something. And I perpetuate this busyness. I always need to know how it's going to end and how it's going to go and that there's going to be something. And I try to control everything. My ego, knowing, wants to control everything. And it has prevented me from being in the fertile void and being in the nothing. And if you don't sit in the nothing, you won't hear the knowing. And without sitting in that knowing, you're leading more from ego agenda than you are from your deep inner wisdom. Leading for me, this is for most of my career in leadership and coaching, I have not been willing to lead from this knowing. My ego's needed to know how it's going to go and be certain that I can control a positive outcome. When you're going to enroll high-paying clients, you have to be willing to sit in the nothing. You have to be willing to let go of everything you think you need in order to get what you really want. Because you do, at this level of coaching and at this level of commitment and working with somebody, you do not want to take on anybody that their inner knowing doesn't know for certain that this is the right step for them. And if we can't sit in that emptiness and in the nothing so that our knowing can come, we certainly can't hold space for another to do that so that their deeper knowing can come. So I want to invite you in these next 2 weeks to experiment with the nothing. And in order to let go of everything you think you need, which is letting go of control in your leadership and coaching, first you have to be able to identify where you're controlling and where you're holding on to what you think you need. And so twofold invitations. One is to sort of ask yourself, where am I trying to control the outcome here? And keep looking for it. As a matter of fact, never stop looking for it. Even though I've had this awareness and I'm practicing more and more of letting go, there's still places I still try to control. And if I think I figured out that one place, then I'll stop looking. So never stop looking. And the first few answers that come to you and where you control, those aren't going to be the things to see that are really going to set you free in your leadership and coaching. It's the deeper places. It's the more subtle. It's the more sneaky. Many of the ways that I was trying to control the outcome, I had no clue that that's what I was doing. I thought that I was just doing a really good job in my leadership to be really well prepared, right? But it wasn't. I was rewriting the agenda 5 times. I was redoing those videos 10 times, and I was never satisfied with it. This different way of leadership, how I have to work, the work I do to prepare now is actually to not prepare. I do the work to get the me that isn't me out of the way so that I can show up and respond to what shows up with radical authenticity and vulnerable courage. So that I can be able to, because it takes that radical authenticity and vulnerable courage to sit into the emptiness, to wait for the voice of your deeper wisdom, to bring fresh new thinking that's more relevant to the moment than our ego's controlled agenda. And so watch out for, it's warm on my walk today. Watch for the ways that you are trying to control a conversation, an enrollment conversation, a coaching conversation, working with a client, with your sweetheart, with your kids. Just watch for it. Nothing to do about it other than notice. Don't even try to stop it. Just notice, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing. The observer will change the experiment. Just keep noticing. A great way to notice and really monitor it is to write it down. Anything that you monitor moves in the direction of your intentions. Monitor where you're trying to control. And then equally, find times to sit in the nothing. And just notice if it's comfortable for you or uncomfortable for you. Notice if you're like me, that you're like, okay, inner knowing, talk to me now. Why haven't you talked to me now? Are you ever going to talk to me? That's what I do in the nothing sometimes. And so sometimes sitting in the nothing just takes a little bit longer. But be willing to sit in the nothing and burn through the ego's agenda of needing some deep insight. The nothing, to really get into the nothing, you have to let go of wanting anything. You have to let go of needing an insight or needing your inner wisdom to speak to you. You just have to be willing to sit in the nothing. And in my experience, if you sit there for a little while, it doesn't take very long before you are reconnected to this deep inner wisdom from which you will have fresh new thinking, more relevant to the situations at hand in your life than anything the ego could come up with or concoct. So I would love to hear from you guys what you are noticing about the control and sitting in the nothing and the voice of your inner knowing. All right, have a great rest of your day.